That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about
Go ahead.
Death on the Nile, or as I kept saying after I said it, Death or Denial. The 19th film directed by Kenneth Branagh, his second remake of an Agatha Christie property, which is being released courtesy of 20th Century Studios on February 11th, 2022.
I have heard the name Kenneth Branagh. I know he's someone. You just said 19 films. I am not interested in pulling 19 images to post in this video, so no need to name them all.
Well, I think...
But what is a movie of his I would know? One.
Well, he was... The early part of his career, he was very notable for adapting many Shakespearean adaptations. Most notably, Henry V and Hamlet are kind of the...
Okay, that's two, and I don't know either of
the
those.
bigger ones. He also... is likely going to be nominated for an Oscar this next cycle because Belfast was a big hit with critics this last year.
Don't know that one.
Which you didn't see. He also did Cinderella with Cate Blanchett a few years ago.
Don't know that.
Dead Again?
Nope.
You've seen him and stuff. He used to be married to Emma Thompson back in the late 80s and then cheated on her with...
I didn't even recognize him because he's in the movie. He's the star of the movie, and I didn't recognize him at all.
Really?
You know who I thought... That could have been like an old, short Ewan McGregor. Like, I actually thought he was someone else. Because we meet his character when he's younger and then like 20 years later. But
it starts in 1914. It starts in 1914 and it's shot by the same cinematographer as Belfast, so it's beautiful, especially the black and white. But in the Belgian trenches during World War I on Halloween, where they go to a bridge too far, if you will, and they have de-aged him in those sequences.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah.
That I really don't.
That gets exploded with.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the one that Capitan.
So that's what Kenneth Branagh looked like when he was younger.
Kinda.
I mean,
it's like watching Robert.
I just know
it's
the
like
name.
watching Robert De Niro de-aged in The Irishman when technically he was that age in Heat, and that doesn't look the same. But he looked to me de-aged in those black and white moments, like Jean Gabin. You'll have to pull it up. Anyhow,
the basic story for those who haven't read the book is there is a couple, a man and a woman, played by Armie Hammer and Emma McCabe. Mackey. Okay, we're introduced to these two in the 1930s in like a nightclub, and they are madly in love. They can't keep their hands off of each other. They couldn't be happier. When in walks in Gal Gadot. Mm-hmm. And we're made to understand immediately that she is very rich, very famous, and obviously very beautiful. So she tries to strut up into the thing. She's not a very sultry lady in this movie, but we can get to it.
Yeah, I have a comment about that. But...
She struts on in there, and we realize that Gal is like best friends with Emma.
Okay, we're not using their character names.
People don't know these people,
okay,
but they know the celebrity name. They're best friends, and Emma invited Gal to introduce her to her fiance. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why this bitch thought she's going to introduce her like beautiful rich friend to her skeezy ass fiance, but she does. And she said, and the reason she does it is, well, there's a real reason she did it, but the reason we think initially is she wants to get her fiance a job as like Gal's land manager because she owns all this property. Gal says yes. And Emma says, well, why don't you give her like a celebratory dance? So we see these two dance kind of passionately. And then we cut to Gal and Armie have just been married. Mm-hmm. So Emma's out the picture. All right. So they've just gotten married and they're like sort of on their honeymoon.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a very long engagement, like honeymoon. And they've invited like a core group of people. When Emma pops up.
She's been trailing them.
And part of the group is Kenneth Branagh's character, who's a detective. No, a private investigator.
Hercule Poirot. Mm-hmm.
So there's a small group of people, which seems too small for this lady and this lavish ass shit, but whatever. When Emma pops up and then she's upset and tells Kenneth Branagh, like, she keeps popping up, can you do something to get her out of here? Kenneth talks to Emma and she's like, no, I love this man. If I can't have him, I'm going to kill his ass. I know he still loves me. I'm going to keep following them. So Kenneth tells Armie and Gal, well, maybe you two should just take your asses home because she's not going to stop following you. But instead, Armie comes up with the idea of getting everyone on like a cruise ship and traveling down the Nile because he says she'll never follow us there, even though she's popped up every other place they've been. And sure enough, she pops up. That night on the ship, when she pops up, she has a confrontation with Armie and Gal. So the three of them are arguing. Gal decides to leave and go to bed. Emma shoots Armie in the leg. Then she's taken away because she's hysterical. She's sedated. And then in the morning, we wake up to find out Gal has been killed in bed. Mm-hmm. So then a big chunk of the movie is Kenneth Branagh, like, trying to figure out who did it. And it's not a procedural. It's just him kind of like, it's very Scooby-Doo meets like Inspector Gadget to me.
Partly because of his performance.
Which I thought was so annoying. But a big chunk of the movie is him basically accusing each person in the group of murder. And we find out as the audience, if you don't know the story, that all of these people have something against Gal.
Mm-hmm. Motive.
But ultimately, oh my God, it was just so obvious from the get-go that Armie and Emma were behind this the entire time. And that she was trying to get Armie married to her friend, Gal, so he could steal all her money and then Emma and Armie could have a nice life. So in the process of all of this, Gal is killed. Gal's assistant is killed. Another member of the wedding party is killed. And then when Kenneth Branagh confronts Armie and Emma in front of everyone, they basically admit, like, yes, we did this. And then they kill each other. Like it's murder-suicide. Mm-hmm. The end, basically.
There you go.
Okay. I don't even know where to start.
Okay, let's start at the beginning, which Branagh... So I have not read Death on the Nile, and it is a remake of a 1978 film where Peter Ustinov starred as Poirot, which also had, a high-profile cast that included, Bette Davis and Mia Farrow, and Maggie Smith and Angela Lansbury. And I haven't seen that. I have seen the original Murder on the Orient Express, which Branagh remade in 2017. A returning character between those films is Bouc, played by Tom Bateman.
Oh, Bouc is in Murder on the Orient Express?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that is how the conduit for which Poirot is led on into Linnet, Gal Gadot's wedding party.
Well, since you're naming names, I think we should explain each person in the wedding party and how they're involved.
Sure.
Okay. So Bouc is traveling with his mother, played by Annette Bening.
Mm-hmm. Euphemia.
And Bouc has known Gal all his life because her parents are super rich, his parents are super rich, so they kind of just ran the same circles. And he's always kind of been fond of her, but nothing ever happened. But there is a blues singer on the boat, played by
Sophie Okonedo, who Salome Otterbourne.
She has been brought on to perform throughout all the events, and her niece is like her manager, played by
Letitia
Wright. Bouc is in love with Letitia Wright's character, mm-hmm. who the mom doesn't. Annette Bening's character doesn't like this girlfriend.
She's not racist. She just hates love.
Yeah. Then we have Gal's lawyer / cousin.
Katchadourian, played by Ali Fazal.
Then we have Russell Brand playing a doctor of some sort who knows everything.
That's Gal's ex, who she was engaged to before Armie.
Right. Then we have Gal's assistant.
Louise, played by Rose Leslie, who is an also over the top French accent, and she's Scottish. But.
And finally, we have Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French. Jennifer Saunders plays Gal's godmother, and Dawn French plays Jennifer's like nursemaid. Okay, so why are all these people suspects? Because we find out Jennifer and Dawn are like lesbian lovers, but Dawn French's character used to be very rich, but her family business was purchased by Gal's family, and then they became like poor. So she's always resented her. But Jennifer Saunders' character used to be extremely wealthy and then gave all her money away. So she doesn't care about money, but then Kenneth Branagh says, oh, you two are lovers and you know your little bitch likes money. So that's probably why you wanted to kill Gal's character, because you know that you were set to inherit all of her money. So that's them. Then her cousin lawyer, we find out, has been doing like shady business dealings, like maybe embezzling money from Gal. And we see at one point he tries to get her to sign some papers and she gets interrupted. So he panics, is the story that Kenneth Branagh tells, and realizes that if I don't kill her, she's going to find out what I was doing and I'll be in trouble. Then we have her assistant, who we're told has a grudge against Gal because the assistant had met a man and fell in love with her, and Gal's character, presuming she didn't want to lose her assistant, found out about this fiance and said, she basically paid him off, like, oh, I see you have a lot of debt. I'll pay off your debt if you leave my assistant alone, as like a test of his love for her. And of course he took the money and left. So that would be her motivation to kill her. Then Letitia Wright and her aunt, which I thought was the most flimsy motive, is because Letitia Wright has known Gal since they were kids. They went to the same boarding school. But when they first met, they were at like a community center pool or something, and Letitia was in the water, and this is like in the 1920s probably. And
she said what year it was, I don't remember.
Or late 90s. It was like, yeah, whatever. Not a good time for black people. Certainly worse than it is today. So Letitia Wright's black ass was in this pool with Gal Gadot, and
it was Sophie's character, but
Sophie's character?
Yeah. Okonedo.
Oh, that's right. Well, same thing. This black woman's in this pool, and then
Dorothy Dandridge is in this pool.
And they complain like, we don't want this colored woman in the pool. So then Kenneth Branagh is claiming that because of that act of racism so many years ago, that's why you want to kill this lady who you've been working for all this time. That was stupid. And then, of course, Russell Brand is like a jilted lover. But from the moment we meet, Armie Hammer is... I don't know who I dislike more, Armie Hammer or Kenneth Branagh.
They're both, I think, very hammy in this. And, this film has felt cursed because of the Armie Hammer drama and Letitia Wright's anti-vax statements, which, lit up the internet several months ago. So I think everybody's been kind of like, this film will have a failure to launch.
Armie Hammer's character just seems skeezy from the moment we meet him. He looks kind of... Okay, I wanted to comment on things I liked. I did like how the film is shot, and I did like the music, particularly the music that
Sophie that Salome is singing.
That her character singing.
Well, yeah, it's very much that 30s style of like either Ma Rainey or Bessie Smith or Ethel Waters. But Mae West, I thought of a couple times in there.
Speaking to the way the film's shot, I feel like the makeup is interesting. It's almost like whomever was doing the makeup for certain characters didn't know how to keep up with the different, like with the cinematographer.
Sure.
In particular, Annette Bening, she looks like a cadaver in some scenes depending on the lighting.
Sure.
And then Armie Hammer looks like a Kardashian. Like they're trying to make him 3 shades darker.
Well, they're trying to make him look like he's a sunburnt playboy, I think.
But he just looks like...
He looks crazy.
In some scenes, looks like blackface almost. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but he looks crazy. And then his teeth are... I don't know if those are his real teeth. I mean, they're certainly... I mean, I don't know. But he looks like he's wearing, like, dentures on top. And the way he talks is just, like... Just from the... Like, on sight, he seems like a creep. And it's so obvious right away that there's something going on. Like...
Yes, and also his accent was driving me crazy, and whatever Branagh's doing for his Belgian accent as Poirot, I find extremely
God.
great. Anyway, what I was really trying to start with is the film is bookended with around his iconic mustache, because he's not. I don't like how Branagh's mustache. It looks like a mustache glued on top of.
It
a
looks
mustache.
like a mustache on top of a mustache, and he has that little thing right here that to me looked like a scab.
But it's explained the origins. It gets an origin story of its own in the opening sequence in 1914, because half his face is exploded and he has the scar, and his fiancée at the time says, "Well, you'll have a mustache," and then he shaves it off at the end because he tries to make good with Salome, like he's trying to be vulnerable. I took that to assume to her in that final moment, because she was kind of scared off by how aggressive he was in his investigating. I grew up with Agatha Christie, reading her Miss Marple and Poirot novels, and I think my favorites were always the books that didn't feature either of those, which those are usually a little lesser known. But my mom was really into watching the television series with David Suchet, so I think he was always.
There's a TV show based on this book.
Based on Poirot. He had his own.
What was it called?
Just the Hercule Poirot.
Picture show?
The Agatha Christie something. He was very that was his signature role, was playing Poirot like throughout his life, and then of course Ustinov played him. So Kenneth Branagh just seems. Why are you doing this? Also, Agatha Christie wrote many novels. Could we not try to make something that hasn't been made before? I don't know.
I know that it's hard because this is based on source material. So if I don't like the story, it's really an issue with the source material, not this movie. But that being said, I didn't care about these characters.
It's not well directed. Is the problem?
It wasn't fun. This should have felt a little over the top. They make Gal's character should have been vile. And she's not. She just seems like a really rich lady. She even says well, when you have money, you can't really trust people, basically. So she's a little standoffish, but I actually think she's quite warm. We hear stories of her being not nice, but
her entrance in that nightclub in the beginning, with her hair and the way it moved, all I could think of was olive oil.
This Gal Gadot is a beautiful woman, but I think her character should have seemed seductive and sultry, and she just seems awkward. Like her shoulders, when she first walks into the club, her body language seems kind of like she's uncomfortable, but not on purpose. And then there are scenes of her with Armie, where they're being kind of flirtatious and sexual, on the pyramid. That shit looked crazy. Because shouldn't we believe that her character was enraptured by this man?
Yes.
And it just seems kind of they're just what are y'all doing?
I think the only one that got Annette Bening is okay, but her character is grating. I think the only one that got the notes, knew what they were doing, was Sophie Okonedo.
Yes.
Letitia Wright, I thought, was not well directed in this. Her line delivery.
I agree.
The dialogue made kind of a pulpy sense, but she just.
And then how do you have French and Saunders in a movie and they're not funny?
As a lesbian couple.
And they're not funny. I just don't understand how you have them as a lesbian couple in this movie and there's no humor to them.
Right. I agree.
That seems really odd. Then why cast these two?
Right. It should have popped in a way that I don't think Branagh can do. I think he has a lane. I think this is not it.
Russell Brand had nothing to do. He there are scenes where it looks like he's where's Waldo? Just in the background. I don't have anything else to say. I didn't care for this movie. I didn't hate it. Would I watch it again?
No,
probably not.
In fact, anyway, I really hated because if you haven't seen Murder on the Orient Express, I don't know, the stuff with Tom Bateman's Bouc feels very forced, and I hated how he's introduced in this.
I was gonna say when we first meet that character, he's on a pyramid flying a kite, and the way he's delivering his lines, and I wanted him to fall off that pyramid.
And then and Poirot is being all fussy, you're ruining the
seventh wonder of the world or something.
Shut up! I leaned over to you and I was like, I hate these people.
Yeah. What would you give this film?
I think 1.5. I've seen it twice, actually.
It's not as bad as, just thinking about Gal Gadot, it's not as bad as Red Notice.
No.
So I don't feel like I would give it 2 out of 5. I could see, if I were on a plane Like I could sit through it and it would be whatever, but yeah, I would not recommend this movie.
I wouldn't either, but it's just a pity because I did like what the choice he made with the bookends of the film, the bookends, but I didn't. It's just meaningless because I really, if I don't care anything, I kind of openly despise all of these people in this film.
I'm hungry.
Okay.
Are you done?
Yep.
Okay, bye.
Bye.